Hello everyone, welcome back to House of Chi. Today I will be bringing you a yoga flow. Let's just get on our mat and get started. Excuse me, I have hiccups, apologies. Let's begin at the top of our mat and roll heel to toe. This is always my favorite way, excuse me, these hiccups are gonna get me, favorite way to start every class just because it's connecting with the ground. It's waking up the fascia through the feet into the rest of the body. We're starting to say hello, good morning to our toes. It's activating up through the knee joints. I like to engage up into my deep belly muscles. I hope these hiccups go away. I'm kind of a avid hiccuper. When I get the hiccups, I really get the hiccups. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's plant down through the heels, unroll through the toes, and just take a big bend in the knees. Inhale, palms rise to stand. Exhale, brush down and away. Inhale, lift. Exhale, brush down and away. Work with the breathing. Inhale. Exhale, straighten the legs on the exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fall. Let's hang out at the bottom. Keep the feet where they are. These hiccups are going to get super annoying. Keep the feet planted and just lean right to left through the IT band. And now let's start rolling through the feet again, but this time we're going to drive the knees up towards the chest. So trying to push more into the feet, push more into the toes. You're not letting the weight sink forward. Use the hips, use the glutes, use the core. Don't just rely on the arms. Okay, from there, we're going to land in a seated, land in a chair position and let the upper body hang. Shake the shoulders out, let them shimmy, let them move around. And then we'll move on to some nice rolling. So we'll roll vertebrae by vertebrae until we're at a standing position. Palms open. And then tuck the chin and reverse that roll all the way down. It's okay if your knees need to bend. That totally works here. Inhale as you rise. Oh, and exhale as you roll. Let's go for one more. Oh, I was hoping all that deep breathing was going to make the hiccups go away. Exhale. And this time we'll just roll up to a standing position and then just shake out the body. We're going to go back down to a seated position. So however you would like to sit comfortably seated. We've kind of got some energy moving through the body. I like to go one foot stacked on top of the other. If your hips and knees aren't there yet, sometimes if my feet are really tight, I can't get this one until I start moving more. You can just let your legs hang out in front. Okay, from here, we're going to do a little bit of sinus work through the nose and the upper cheek area. So we'll take peace fingers of one hand and go to the opposite side of the nose. And as you gently tug the nose in one direction, the other peace fingers are going to trace along that sinus line across the cheekbone and towards the temple. So you want to find a nice pressure, but you also want to make sure you're not just ripping the skin and creating a lot of wrinkle damage, right? So you're trying to create this nice fine line here. You're trying to empty the sinus area and also pull whatever's sitting in there, pull it towards the side of the face. We'll just do that a couple more times. See what it feels like to inhale as you're creating that space. And now we're going to hold that little tension across the face here. Hold, keep breathing. And then the hands just gently run along the cheekbone, down the sides of the face a few times, and you can work away from the neck. This is just very gentle, light touch. Again, not forming any wrinkle lines, just gentle touch. And then we'll move on to the other side, same thing. Also notice if you can breathe better in whichever side you just worked. I definitely can. So peace fingers go to the opposite side of the nose. The other side, peace fingers are just going to drag along that sinus line, the cheekbone up towards the temple. Oh, this made my hiccups go away. Excellent. Do a few more inhales as you're creating that space. And then we'll hold, keep breathing. And gently release. Now just that gentle press across the cheekbone, down the side of the face, and through the side of the neck. Now let's just take the fingertips and gently drag down the front of the neck. And we'll go across the collarbones. And then take the fingertips to same side shoulder. And as you roll the shoulders, firm pressure from the fingertips. You can feel if there's any knots or any stuckness in the shoulder, maybe some clicking happening. Check in with the shoulder joint. Mine are feeling pretty good this morning. Keep the elbows back and behind. Use the hands to drag the chest open. Keep breathing. With the inhales, you're filling up all the front space. And then we'll let everything come back to center. Take the hands, roll out the wrist. You could do some more active wrist stretching by placing the back of the palms together. Maybe interlacing the fingers. I like massaging through the finger joints. You can press them forward to stretch the fingers. You may get some pops out of there. And then we'll take the hands down to the side, spread the fingertips wide, and just move around the wrist joint. So I just think of circling all the way around the wrist joint. And now pressing the hand down, push away from the floor. Make sure the entire palm, every finger, all the finger joints are working down to the floor. And you're starting to wake up the hand muscles, the wrist muscles, and the forearm muscles. And then close your eyes. And as you do this, create space across the scaps. So as I push up, my hips lift, my upper back is lifting towards the ceiling. And you could do a longer hold if you would like each time you lift. You can incorporate the pelvic floor, starting to engage in and up. You're lifting through the pelvic floor and then pulling navel back to the spine. I'm going to do one more hold and then release to the floor. Legs are going to extend out straight. I have very tight ankles this morning, so I'm going to do a little ankle mobility real quickly. Get things moving. And then if you can reach your feet, a little push and pull. If you can't reach your feet, you simply bend your knees until you can reach them. I'm going to do a little outward push. I just felt that all the way into my hip and inward push. When you're ready, let's cross the ankles and come up to a standing position. You may need to go forward into a quadruped and then come up to a standing position. I'm going to hope my mic lasts through this bouncing, but we're just going to kind of shake it out. So I'm keeping my heels off the floor. I'm staying soft through the shoulders, soft through the hands, a little strong through the belly to hold it all together. But we want to be bouncing on the balls of the feet, and we want the lymph system draining, moving. We want the blood flowing. Think about using the balls of the feet and the toes to activate the calves, which is also called our second heart. It's a big pumper. So we want to be moving, and feel free to shake it out wherever you want. If you got some places to go for a second, go there. Okay, bring it back through center. Still doing that active release, but we're going to start connecting the balls of the feet and then the heels into the floor. And then we'll just lean forward. Now as you shake it out, I want you to exhale, let it all go. Basically on those exhales, you're just releasing everything. All right, bring it back up through center. Let's get moving. Feet are hips distance. Press through the feet, lift up, lengthen through the core, lock it into place. Inhale, palms rise. Right hand binds left wrist, lean back through center. Inhale, exhale, opposite. Inhale, center. Exhale, take a bind, open the heart forward. Inhale, palms rise. Exhale, sweep it down to chair, palms reach back and behind you. Inhale, palms rise to stand. Exhale, reach back in a sweep. One more, inhale. Exhale, reach back to sweep. Flip your palms up toward the ceiling and activate your glute muscles. Keep holding. Hug the hips in and together. Inhale, rise. Exhale, forward fold. Let's start moving through our vinyasas. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, step or hop to plank. I always lower my knees. Feel free to do the chaturanga as you see fit. Inhale through cobra. Pay attention to the hands on the floor. Exhale, meet me in downward facing dog and walk it out. Keep the upper body strong, the rib cage pulled in, the sits bones pulling back. We will step or hop it up. Inhale, flat. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hands to heart center. See if you can close your eyes for a brief moment. And then palms reach down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat. Exhale through your version of chaturanga. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right away this time, bend the knees. Step or hop up. Inhale, flat. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. I say rise just because I don't do flat back. I do more of a roll. So it's your choice, whichever way you'd like to come up. Briefly close the eyes, palms open. Connect the feet to the floor. Inhale, palms rise. Exhale to a fold. Inhale to a flat. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, step or hop up. Inhale, flat. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Exhale. This time we're reaching over for our side bends. Inhale, straight. Exhale, opposite. Inhale, straight. Exhale, hands bind to open the heart. And then come back through center. Shake it out. Release anything that's stuck in the body. Anything you need to get rid of. Inhale, palms rise. Exhale, sink into chair. Palms are reaching forward this time. Now hold, engage the feet, engage the legs, engage the glutes, navel to spine. Rotate the shoulders here. So your palms are just rolling, but it's not just the palms. It's the wrist, the forearm, the bicep, tricep area, all the way through to the shoulder girdle. Maybe you feel that connection of lat, scap, all that moving. Soften the shoulders. Let's go one more. And then hands to the floor. Let's take it to our plank position. And from plank, roll forward to a good plank, which means wrist, elbow, shoulder, one line. My chest is open. And I have a nice line from my hip line to my shoulders. So my hips aren't low. They're not too high. They're right here in a flat back position. Push from both sets of toes. So keep driving forward. Find your core. As I push into my toes, I'm engaging through the front of the legs and up into the abdomen. Don't let the head hang. This is my bad habit. I have to lift and lengthen the crown of the head forward. 3, 2, and 1. All the way down to the mat. Palms are going to reach forward and then an alternate lift to work and open and engage through the back muscles. Maybe you can do a few sets of the doubles. And then we'll add a little squeeze, lat pull, and reach forward. Squeeze and reach. 3, 2, and 1. Hold. The rhomboids are pulling together. The scaps are pulling together. Let's just rotate right to left from here. Try to keep everything in position. You're just gently leaning. I like looking in the opposite direction. And then up through center. Fingertips go wide. Inhale, big roll up through the heart. Exhale, release it down. Now we're opening up that front body space. Inhale, lift. Exhale, roll. This feels so good. Let's do 3 more breaths. Hi, relax the ab muscles. Feel that space being created from the navel all the way to the chin. 1 more. This time all the way down to the belly. I'm going to walk my left arm out first until my shoulder is flat and just gently fold on top. You can use the other hand for support. You can bring the leg back and behind. And then coming through center, we'll take any kind of movement on that shoulder we just stretched. I love these 90-degree angle movements. And then we'll focus on the other side. Walk it out, shoulder down, fold on top. And then as we come back through center, any movement on this side that feels good. And then bringing it back through center, let's take it up into our quadruped position. Index fingers are forward. Other fingertips are fanned out. Press the floor away from you. Pull navel to your spine. And let's find any kind of engaged activity through the torso. So what I'm doing is squeezing my navel to my spine. I'm keeping my abdominals active. I'm not releasing into a cat-cow. I'm staying very strong and just moving around to find crunches in all different angles here. Crunching all the way through the abdominals, maybe incorporating a little bit of hip action, because why not? Always makes things more fun in life. I'm such a dork. Can't help it. Okay, now my abdominals are still working. I still feel them locking into the core. Chest is open. As I open my chest, my lats pull back. Take a little tap with the fingertips as far forward as you can reach while staying engaged through the abdominals. Now I'm going to add on, I'm going to take an opposite toe tap. So now those abs are getting worked and stretched in the same, or excuse me, in opposite direction, but top and bottom of the core. We're going to hold right hand, left foot. Inhale as you burst up. Exhale slowly down. It's a burst. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. You have two more. Inhale. Exhale. Hold the top this time. Hold. Your hand is above the shoulder. Your foot is above the hip. Keep squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. And exhale, release. Find your cat-cow spine. Just two. Just two. Land with the abdominals locked into place. Left palm reaches, right toes. Inhale, burst up. Exhale. Keep the abs in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Two more. This time we're holding. Foot is above hip. Palm is above shoulder. Squeeze. Two. And one. Releasing. Cat-cow, as many as you want now. Now you can breathe into the belly muscles and release the core. You can allow the head to move with you, the shoulders. If you want to move away from cat-cow, you can start incorporating other movements so that we're working through the entire torso. And then we'll tuck the toes and move ourselves into our downward facing dog position. From downward facing dog, bounce on the balls of the feet, shake out through the lymph system. You're also engaging all those lower leg muscles. You're working on supporting or building this to support the knees. So keep bouncing. And then bend your knees a little bit more. See if you can incorporate more quads. And then we'll take that bounce to a little step right to left. And my feet are actually lifting up off the mat. If you can see, it was tricky to change. If you can see, my feet are actually coming up. And then instead of going right to left, you can do both at the same time in a jacks. Keep the hands planted to the floor, the abdominals, the shoulder active. 3, 2, keep jacksing. Walk the feet as close as you can get to the palms. And then land in a wide straddle, bend the knees and reach the hands back and behind. Now bring the hands to heart, chest up. You're shifting all the way to the butt. Exhale, reach the hands back and behind. Inhale, hands to heart. Let's go 3 more. Exhale, reach. Inhale. I'm not going to a straight leg. Pay attention to what's happening in the legs. It's a little weight shift here. Now we will land in a forward fold, and you can lengthen the legs fully out. See if you can bring maybe the forearms to the floor. Check in with the big toes, the balls of the feet, the outsides, the blades, everything supporting. If you feel pressure on the knees, push into the feet more. I love binding behind my head here, adding a little chin tuck. It opens up my upper back so much more. And then releasing, if you have that bind, bending the knees enough to come up into a flat back. And we're going to pull the heels in, look forward or maybe up, and then heels back into a fold. Digging deeper into the hips here. Heels pivot in, heart comes up, take it back. If you're not quite here with the hips yet, you can always walk your feet closer together. That's going to help your hips. Last one. Let's land in our forward fold and move directly into our twist from here. You inhale to open, exhale, cross. Inhale, exhale. Depending on the pace of your movement, you might take an inhale, exhale through one whole sequence, or you can do like me, inhale, exhale through center. I just like taking shorter breaths and making sure I'm moving with my breathing. Let's go one more each side. And then we'll come back through center, walk the hands to the top. The feet are gonna stay in a wide plank, but I'm gonna step back into a plank position. And then I'm gonna roll from downward facing all the way, either knees down into a cobra, or you could just stay in a plank position. If you're not ready to move towards a cobra, if you feel any pressure in your low back, you're only rolling here to a plank. I know I've already done warm up this morning. I can handle some cobras because I've already done some. So I'm just going to go directly into my cobra posture. One more. Utilize the exhales. Everyone's going to meet me in a wide cobra stance. So my feet are wide. If your shoulders are pointing forward, draw them out and away. And now you can focus on the triceps as we bend the elbows. I just do a little mini bend here. Feel my pecs working, my heart is up, my glutes are active. And then lift up the hips, bring the toes together, elbows down to center, and lean back into a tricep stretch. Heavy in the chest. Bringing the hands down, using the hands if you need to walk it up and bring the knees together. From here, we're going to take our hands to our low belly. Make sure the bottom part of the shin, the front part of the ankle, the foot is all actively pushing down. Tuck your hip bone towards your rib cage and squeeze. And now you can lift and hold. So making sure that we're not in this arched position here, but we're in this squeezed and engaged position. Now I'm not in a round like this. Hopefully you can see that. I'm tucked in. I'm core activated. Holding here and then just gently coming up off the heels just a little bit. Keep holding, keep holding, keep holding. Now do not lose the space from the hips to the ribs. Just slightly hinge and then bring it back up. I did not close the abdominals. Do what I'm doing with the fingers. If you're kind of like, what's happening here? You just touch the hips and touch the ribs. You're working into the quads so that this is all staying sane and we're just pushing forward into the legs. Whew, that's burning my quads. 3. Pull the inner thighs together. 2. This time we're going to hold. Use your hands for support if you need. Now you may round a little bit further. We're going to shift some work into our glute muscles as the knees walk in and walk out. If you see me forward, they're just going wide. They're coming back through center. Keep breathing. Keep that low pelvic floor all locked into place. If you need to, you touch it. Now I can know where I'm supposed to be squeezing. 2, 1. Landing in a hips distance stance, shifting forward and tapping out the tops of the feet. And then we'll take one leg back and just push the heel down. It's kind of like a downward facing dog position, but I'm focusing more on the opening of the calf and the back of the ankle. As you come forward, we'll just switch legs. And then we'll press all the way forward into our plank pose. From here, abs are locked in, chest is open. Just your hips are moving right to left for a little side body crunch. Don't let the heels slide around. Stay really active through your core. We'll go for 3, 2. If you need to push back to downward facing, please do. If you can move your left foot outside your left palm from here, take it there. And we inhale, unroll into your high lunge twist. And then exhale back down. Now it's easier to push back into a downward facing because your hips come higher. There's more space from your leg. So if you need to do that, again, please do. Otherwise, you pull it straight back to plank. Right foot steps, inhale, unroll. Exhale, roll back down. Step, it's a lot of abdominal work. When you're rolling, this roll should start from the bottom palm. You're pushing up and away from the floor. And it's kind of like a little wave action through the rest of your arm. Focus on your breathing. Your inhales to expand, your exhales to contract. Notice if your hips are moving all around, we don't want the hips to go lower than the shoulders. So make sure you're coming back to downward facing if you need to create that space. Let's go one more each side. Exhale through. Exhale through. We hold plank, stay here. I'm going to lower my knees and take my arms wider. Whatever versions of push-ups you would like. I'm just always kind of redeveloping Really focusing on my push-ups because I've had shoulder issues. So whatever version of push-up you'd like to do. Let's go for one more. And then walk the hands back. Tuck the toes to hips distance. Your hands are going to go inside your knees. And now lift up through your pelvic floor as the feet float. I'm keeping my heels off the mat from here. Walk the hands closer. Try to lift up a little taller. You can sink the hips, but try to keep the heels pulling up to the butt. Maybe you feel some stretching in the low back space here. Maybe keeping the knees wide, you can bring the hands lower or the forearms lower. And then we'll walk forward to our plank and go through a vinyasa. So I'm going to step or hop forward. Inhale to a flat. Exhale to a fold. And inhale, roll it up. Exhale, hands to your heart. I realize I skipped the chaturanga there in my vinyasa. Didn't mean to, but my body meant to. So I'm going to go with it. Okay, unroll through the feet, reset, restabilize, reground yourself. We've done a lot of movement. Hopefully you've let the heart rate come up a little bit here and there. Apologies, I'm looking at my camera and there's definitely some things in the space that are not just me, so apologies for that. Inhale, palms rise. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat. Exhale, open the toes, sink into a malasana stretch. Now, I just had to walk my feet wider because they were too close. As you bring the hips down, you want the heels just in line with the sits bone. So kind of check in with your stance here. I'll shift forward so you can see mine. They're about this distance, but notice my heels are inside my knee line, so I want you to make sure you're there. Hands to heart if you can. If you need to push on the upper leg, you can use that, but don't let your butt sink. So not a stretch pose or an activated glute hold, knees pushing wide pose. Wiggle the toes, make sure the feet are connected to the floor. We're going to breathe for 3, 2, walking the hands forward. I'm going to bring one knee to center and then just catch myself on the way back. Walking forward, one knee to center, catch on the way back. So I'm physically pushing myself back up. You can drop and catch. Make sure your glutes are working. This gets my legs very quickly. Focus on your breathing. We have 2 more each side. Last one. Staying in your malasana hold, not your stretch. You're going to inhale, rise, palms lift. Exhale, sink it to your hold, your hover. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hold. Chest is up, back is long. Inhale. Exhale all the way down to your stretch pose. Sink the hips. Now you can use your elbows to create more space. You can sink the tailbone. I love rounding my spine here. So you'll see a difference between this posture and this posture. It changes the stretch a little bit. I just always love stretching my back. It always feels so good. And then we'll do a little of the other as well. And then we'll bring it forward into a quadruped position. And from there, push back to a downward facing dog and allow one leg to come up and open up the hip flexors. You can move the foot around a little bit. And then just move directly to the other side. From there, we're going to bring it into a downward facing. Bend the knees, step or hop, wide straddle. Inhale, flat. Exhale, fold. Inhale, soft knee, roll it up through center. Now move into a goddess pose. So my heels are in, my toes are out. And the hands are going to come down to the legs, not the knees. So I don't want to push pressure on the knee here. I'm just a little higher. And just release the shoulders in a stretch. Think about pushing the knee or pushing the leg away from the body. And you'll get a stretch across the shoulder, but also through that inner leg line. And then coming up through center and tucking the hips in to unroll the spine. Shoulders are stacked over the hips. Feet are unrolled. Inner thighs are pulling towards the ceiling. Now, keep pulling the inner thighs towards the ceiling as you sink down. You're shooting for a 90 here. If you can hold that 90, great. Don't let the knees cave. I hope you can see this. Here's not what we want. Here's what we want. One nice line. I'm holding in my butt muscles. Keep holding in your butt muscles. Arms can reach out. You can take any kind of movement in the upper body. So I just almost kind of fell forward. The movement in the upper body is going to challenge the stabilizers in the lower body. Keep moving in the upper body any way that calls to you. and keep grounding, stabilizing through the lower body. Oh, I feel like a ballerina. Beautiful long arms, maybe some sweeping movements. Practice being graceful and fluid here. And then we'll bring it out and open, toes forward, hands to hips, straight squat. You may need to walk your feet in a little bit closer. Look for that same distance, from the ribs to the hip line again. So we don't want to be collapsing in the upper body. 3, 2, we're going to add a little bit of a hop movement. We're going to come up on one foot and bring it down to a squat. Up on one foot, down to a squat. I'm going to pick up the pace and get a little bit more of a lateral lift. So I'm pretending like there was a weight on the ankle. So my glutes and the outside of my leg has to work a lot harder. If you want to go for a double star jump, let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2. Hold in your squat. You stay there, you breathe. 3, use your exhales. 2, and 1. Hi, shake it out, whatever feels good. I'm gonna do some little butt kickers. And we'll bring it back to the top of our mat. Inhale, palms rise. Exhale, bend the knees as you fold. If you're not ready to fully bring the head down to an inversion, you don't have to. Let's take right leg back and knee to the floor. Open up the chest. I'm getting a stretch all the way through this front thigh, hip flexors up through the psoas. So if you don't feel this stretch, you can always pull the back heel up, and that may take it a little deeper for you. I love working knee over toe on this side, so I don't have a perfect 90 degree with my knee and heel. I'm doing a little bit of knee over toe action. And then from there, we're going to shift back using this front foot, and then we're going to come into a side Parigasana. So my right knee is planted, my left leg is long, and my pinky toe blade of the foot is pushing down. Hands are under the shoulders here. So if this feels like a stretch, I feel this all the way along the outside of my ankle. You can stay here, or if you'd like to add some rolling, that left side arm is going to thread under and lift, but I'm going to make sure that left side foot is staying planted. Now, if you want to go a little farther, I don't know if it's necessarily farther, but it does change the stretch a little bit. You can take the left palm behind the head and now exhale, roll through the elbow. Inhale, push the head into the palm. You're going to get a lot more back body work here. You're trying to actively push the head to lift the chest, and you're not using the arm at all. The arm is creating a bit of resistance there for the back body. I absolutely love this movement. It feels so good. Let's do one more because I can never get enough of this one. Hold. Maybe you find a twist here. Maybe you release the hand behind the back, checking in with the left pinky toe blade of the foot, making sure it's still down. I'm still feeling a stretch on that left foot. I've been doing a lot of running again, so my feet keep getting so tight. Exhale, gaze down, let the left arm come in, shift all the way into this supporting leg, and then any movement you need on the left side. Always safe just to go into some mobility work. Now we'll shift back forward into our downward facing, and when we get to downward facing, you're going to stretch out the foot you just were stretching. So my left foot was just forward extended. I'm going to get on top of my left toes. I'll switch this direction so you can see. On top of my left toes and kind of move around to get a nice stretch across the front of the ankle. Hiya! I also have a toe injury, so that feels really great. It doesn't feel really great, but I need it. I always think the more that stretch hurts, the more I'm gonna need it. I can only do so much of that. Okay, let's meet back in our downward facing. And any kind of movement you need there for a moment. And then we're gonna move on. Bend the knees, step or hop to a wide straddle. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale to a fold. Bend the knees as you inhale, roll. Bring the hands to heart center. Let's go back into our goddess pose. Heels in, toes out, inner thighs roll towards the ceiling. Squeeze the ribs back. Now this whole front body is active and strong. Keep holding, keep holding. Maybe sink it a little bit deeper. And we're just going to have a little silent hold here. So this is a challenging pose for me to hold because of my hips. It just has never been an easy pose for me to hold. So we're just going to be silent here for a moment. If there is another pose that comes to mind that is really challenging for you, feel free to move into that pose and hold as well. Before we move on, do a little body scan, do an energy scan, do an emotional scan. How are you feeling? What is this bringing up for you? This is bringing up sweat and frustration and a slight giddy gigglingness. It's kind of like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. I'm just going to laugh about it. Let's come up and out of that posture. Any kind of movement. I love going side to side. You can keep toes forward. You can open the toes up more towards a triangle position. And then we're going to go back into our other side lunge. So stepping the feet back to hips distance. This time our left leg will step back and behind. And you can stretch out hip flexor, quad, thigh, psoas up into the heart. If you feel this, but it's not quite enough, feel free to pull the back heel in. Sometimes takes you farther. And if you're working knee over toe, just be intentional about the knee over toe, making sure you're not putting any pressure, too much pressure on the knee. It's not a painful thing, but it feels more of like a work stretch feeling. I just had a very nice yoga moment where my brain kind of disappeared. So sorry, my words just mumbled together. It didn't make much sense, but you know, it's a positive sign when you have those yoga moments and you're all of a sudden not here on your mat anymore. So let's move it along. We're gonna go to our opposite side now. It's the left leg down, the right leg is extended. I'm gonna just shift my body so I'm not completely rear facing forward to you. Okay, left knee is under, right foot is planted, palms are under the shoulders, and then lock into your core. So we're staying strong and supporting through our abdominals. I don't feel as much stretch on this ankle, so it must have just been my other foot that was super tight. So try to keep the pinky and the foot down, maybe push a little bit more firmly to find that stretch, and then you can add your rolling through the spine. Notice I'm not bringing the hips with me. I'm rolling and twisting through the midsection. So about navel and above, I'm getting that twist. If you want to move on to the more challenging version, it would be hand behind the head. And now as I lift up, it's the head, the upper back. I'm using it to go into my twist. This is a great thing to practice for yoga because so many of our poses we're actually supposed to be incorporating this kind of movement, the upper back, the scaps pulling together, squeezing into the back muscle to open the heart. But until you start practicing it, it's kind of tricky to find if you're holding just kind of a basic rest, not really restful pose, but just a more basic yoga pose. So this is a good training to learn how to be more active in these yoga postures. Let's go one more. I'm going to try to open a little bit farther. And then if you'd like, the hand can go back. Maybe you can gaze up, shoulders back and away. Notice my left shoulder, how it's collapsing in. I hope you can all see that. That is not what we want. We want open chest from both ends. Check in with the right side toes. Make sure you're still working on that stretch. And then we'll release it through. We'll come into our downward facing. And this time stretch out the top of the right foot. Oh, it feels so nice. And then we're going to come into a seated posture. So whatever you like to do to get there, you can simply step to the top of the mat and come down to seated. We're going to do a little bit of ab work before we take it into a reclined twist. So ab work for me, I lift up my butt so that it can push against my tailbone and protect my tailbone. From here, abs are active, navel's pulling into the spine. I'm going to work feet planted for now, a slight point in the toe to drive my foot down. Inner thighs are active. If you need to, take your hands to the outer leg and give it a little push-pull to make sure the legs are working. My legs are on fire. Squeeze, tuck back, and then just lift up to a neutral. Again, using your hands whenever possible. Incorporate your own hands, your own feelings into these muscle movements so that we really know what's going on. We can feel the response of our muscles. We can feel if things are closing when they shouldn't be, or if things aren't engaged and they should be, right? So notice what's happening. I notice my toes are flopping up. I'm going to be more active in grounding my feet. And that feet grounding is going to help me stay more active up through my abdominals. Try not to round. Try not to let the shoulders fall forward like mine just were. Holding on the way back. I just want to make sure your shoulders are behind your hips. We're not changing anything. We're just squeezing right to left. So we're getting another rotation through the spine. Check in with the legs. Try to keep them still. And then coming through center, we're going to continue rotations one more time, but you have the option to open up the arms. This is going to be more challenging because your abs are going to want to try to open, but we're going to squeeze and hold them together. 2 and 1. Bring the hands underneath the legs. Bring the feet together in a Baddha Konasana and take some nice rolling through the spine. Now you're working deep belly breaths to soften those muscles. One more. On the way back, I'm squeezing, lifting through the heart, but not disengaging my core, floating the feet. Push the feet together. Feel the inner thighs working. Maybe your hands can reach up and overhead. Keep holding. Maybe you can rope climb. If you need to, you can support the hands here instead of rope climb. Check in with the feet. Make sure they're completely pushing together. The inner thighs are still lifting towards the ceiling. Now don't let go of your core, but use your hands to bring the knees to hips distance. Abs are active. I'm going to flex my foot this time. Push out and away, squeeze back in. Out and away, squeeze back in. I'm going to take my hands to my low belly to make sure I stay active. And try to get the leg to full extension. I'm not releasing it down to the floor. It's holding at a hover. 3. Use your abs. 2. I feel some hip flexors. And bring it all the way into a seated forward fold. Take a breath. I'm just going to keep my hands here at my belly so I can give myself a little belly pressure. And you can even move the hands around for some belly massage. And then we'll come on up. Take a little twist right to left. I felt like I needed that just now. If there's anything that feels like you need, always take it. And then we'll move directly into a deer pose. This will be our hip stretch. So my front side is shin parallel to the top of the mat, heel and knee one line, and then my back leg is pretty similar. I'm looking for a 90. Roll very carefully, very slow to start. Check in with the hip flexors. If you have really tight hip flexors, this can be tricky, so you might need to pull the leg closer. If you've been doing this for a while, you're creating space, but keeping the knee bent and then rolling. Ha! You're shifting the pelvis forward, shifting the pelvis backward. So all those muscles, those little muscles and big muscles that are connected to the pelvis are getting some movement. Now one side may feel better than the other, or I guess one side may feel a little worse than the other, like you need to stretch it more. Choose the side that you need to stretch more and stay there and breathe. So I had to tilt my pelvis to tip back, and now I feel all these hip flexors stretching. And just one more breath. Don't rebound out of this too quickly. Use your hands and hold the muscles. So if you're on the back side, you're gonna hold the back side. Gently lean away and just let the leg naturally kind of float in, and then you can do a bigger movement and move the leg around anywhere you need. We'll get one twist here. The right leg goes where I did my right leg back. So whichever back leg, you're gonna take across for kind of a knee stack, but not quite. So my bottom knee is facing forward, or it can stay in line with the hip. And then the top leg is high. So I'm not flattening it, I'm keeping it up so that I can bring my heel close as I can get it to my hip line, and my foot down, my big toes down. Now if this hip is up, try to get that down. Re-engage the knee in. You might feel a deeper stretch across the glutes. Lift up nice and tall to create space. You can stay here. Continue to push the toes down. I know I can go farther, so I'm going to tuck my chin to my chest. Now I did not round, I just lengthened the muscles in the back. Take a couple breaths here. And then gently, if the head is down, bring it up. Gently flex the foot, let the knee fall. Use your hands to massage anything in the right leg. And then move it onto the other side. So I'm just going to stay facing forward for this deer pose. Front side, heel, knee, one line, knee in line with the hip. My other side, I know I can handle it, so I'm going to take it out wider. Keep the 90 in the knee if I can. And then gently, slowly start adding the movement through the hips, through the pelvis. Oh, this one's putting me to sleep. I feel like I had so much energy and now I don't. Now I'm ready for a long shavasana. And then choosing whichever side that needs more stretch. Mine is on the way back, so I'm going to tilt my pelvis backward, hold and breathe. And then gently remember to use your hands for support. Hold the muscles as you come up out of the posture, and then you can take some bigger movements. And we'll land in our cross. So bottom leg stays in, top leg goes across. Adjust however we did on the other side. Knees to center or in line with the hip. Top leg, I'm pulling the heel as close as I can get to the butt, to the hip line. Pulling the knee up and hip down. Maybe do hip down first, then engage knee up. Check in with the toes, try to keep them down, sit up nice and tall. Keep breathing. If you need to, sink the chin to create more length in the muscles. And then gently coming up and out of the posture. Let the knees fall, massage anything that feels good here. And coming fully to a seated position, you can take it on your back. Legs up in the air. Whatever movements you'd like to finish here, I'll kind of just let you do what you want. I always love finishing with a little bit of low back release. So whether that's a supported bridge, you could do this posture where you take the heel across the knee, let the knee internally rotate. Legs up in the air. You can do Supta Baddha Konasana, which is a reverse butterfly, a reclined butterfly position. Circling the knees around the chest always feels great. I'm going to finish with our reclined butterfly. Gives you a good opportunity to check in with the belly, what's happening there. Give a little massage. Press into the hips another time if you like. And also to get a little back crack. So if you want the back crack, you just take the wrist to the hip line. As you exhale, lock it out. And that pressure of pulling the hips away from the spine will usually give you a little adjustment. Taking Shavasana, doing anything else you need before you move on from your practice today. I hope you enjoy this practice. I hope you have time for a nice Shavasana at least. 5 minutes is usually the golden spot, is the 5-minute Shavasana. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for helping me get rid of the hiccups, and I will see you next time on the House of Chi Yoga. Namaste, everybody.